We are going to begin this great RECONNECT conference with a discussion about the 5 great ways you can supercharge your PeopleSoft experience. We're going to begin with an introduction. My name is Jeff Robbins. I am part of Newberry Enterprise, which is a division of Gideon Taylor. So many of you are going to be very familiar with Gideon Taylor and the way Gideon Taylor has been influencing the user experience and the productivity of users with their PeopleSoft experience. And I'll go ahead and let Andrew introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Andrew Badiz. I'm the managing director of Intracy here at Gideon Taylor. Jeff and I had worked together for many years, and one morning I woke up and we were coworkers. So never thought we'd be doing a presentation together, but here we are,
right?
Yeah, for everyone's benefit. So thanks for having me.
Yes. And let's go ahead and get started. Very quick agenda. We're going to dive into a lot of things about PeopleSoft that you should be paying attention to. I definitely want to make sure that you're aware of some things that if you're not aware of could make a difference for your users. But we're going to begin with the message from Oracle, from the PeopleSoft team, and what is the direction of the ERP industry in general. We're going to start there so that we can start to focus on what are the things that we're going to highlight with the PeopleSoft user experience. And then I have here at the end is questions and answers. But I want everybody to know that we are open to you submitting questions at any time using the chat in the website or the Pathable application. You can also chat here in the Zoom app. But either way, if you have a question and would like to ask us a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and casually interrupt us. So that's how we'll go. Very, very quick overview of Gideon Taylor, recently acquired Intracy and Newberry Enterprise Services. All of us focused on the experience of users in having very, very effective use of technology to enhance and improve the operational practice within your business. So we have tools, we have products, but we also have service offerings, as you can see all down this left-hand side, that will really make it, focus on the value of your users and the effectiveness of your solution in optimizing or improving your business processes. But let's go ahead and get started with the Oracle message around what are we focusing on with respect to PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft, as you know, has been around for a very long time, but in the last how many years, Fluid UI has come out and for the most part has been a primary area of focus on the user experience for and enhancing the user experience for PeopleSoft users. It is almost completely fluid now. We still have the classic UI, but for the most part, people are starting to use Fluid. And so much of what we're going to talk about are the latest enhancements recently. But PeopleSoft team has also talked about how now that it's cloud ready, that it can be deployed to the Oracle Cloud or any of the other cloud providers as well. There are great opportunities to enhance and improve the operational experience of PeopleSoft, and a very agile approach for releasing new enhancements and improvements to the PeopleSoft system. So no longer do we have to do massive upgrades. We can do incremental upgrades or enhancements both in the People Tools, but also in the PUM environment. So lots of great enhancements. But the question is, what of these are you using? Are you using all of them? Are you currently using Fluid, and so on? Here's a quick rundown of the tools releases over the last, actually 12 years now. It's crazy. 8.5.1 is when we introduced something called Work Centers, which was an enhancement to making it easier for users to access what do they need to work on today. Then 8.5.2 pivot grids, activity guides. Fluid was released in 8.5.4, but enhanced and expanded many times over the next number of releases. So 859 is the current, though we did hear yesterday that 860 is just about ready. And so the release of the tools version, as well as the updates and the patches to the tools, now that 860 is going to be out, we're going to see that 859 has a 12-month patch, and then critical patch updates for 24 months. And so that's how tools releases go. But you're pretty focused on that, I'm sure, because you've been using PeopleSoft for a long time. So what we're going to talk about is what's important to your users. Clearly, at the business level, we're going to focus a lot on productivity. How do we improve our business processes to have our people be more productive? Also, this other concept called efficiency. Now, they are kind of interrelated, so this might be something to raise your hand on. But does anybody know how do we measure productivity? How do we know that people are more productive? Well, productivity is how much work is completed per units of time. So if we want productivity to increase, then either we're going to encourage or support our users in completing more work in the same amount of time. How much work can get done in a day or a week or an hour? Work completed, or take less time in order to do the same amount of work. So a lot of the things we're going to focus on is how can we support users in getting more work done, getting their work done, and having it take less time than it would otherwise. But with respect to efficiency, what is that efficiency? We all know that word, but efficiency is the amount of work that can be completed per unit of energy. How efficient can it be? You think about how you're driving car, the amount of gas that it takes to get the same distance. The efficiency with respect to your business process is, can we get the work done and have it be more efficient in terms of how much energy does your user have to put into the effort? And can we make things easier? So that's the thing. But what's important to users? Users' satisfaction and enjoyment is, most of our users don't really care so much on how productive they are. They want to just make sure they get the job done so that they can be acknowledged for having done good work and experience user enjoyment and satisfaction. So those are the kinds of things we're going to be talking about. What can you do inside PeopleSoft that is going to be productive and efficient, but also have your users be happier? So today's PeopleSoft. Does this look familiar? Any of you still using this look and feel for the PeopleSoft? This old system where this is the way the menu was experienced has been proven to not be the most productive way to use your PeopleSoft system. There is a better way, and the new user experience is much, much more productive for users in that it gives much quicker response time to the system. People can get into the pages that they're looking for much quicker, but it's also more efficient. So some of the things that have come up recently, and these are the things that we're going to talk about supercharging PeopleSoft. If you're not using Fluid, you got to start there. But some of the releases, this is a screenshot from 859, include the kind of the prevalence throughout the entire system of search. So quick access bar over here on the far left, and in 860, you'll see it's up in the upper left in that header banner. But quick access bar have a couple of very quick links for recently visited. If your user, many of our users go to the exact same place multiple times, either they're doing self-service or they are power users, either way, where have they been recently? Getting quick access to where they've been is one of the most effective ways to have them access that page again, rather than that old menu system. And then favorites. If they like a page or favorite a page, then they can kind of create their own quick menu that way. But in addition to that, we have a much, much more effective menu system. In the old way, it was obviously hierarchical. Now you have some options about, well, the default is alphabetized, or you can, at the system level, set it to be the old fashion as well. But having the menu bar be easier to access is very important. But the next thing is menu search. So you can actually search the menu. You can just start typing in the global search area, and you can find the PeopleSoft menu that you're looking for. And the quick response of the search process is one of the great things that has made PeopleSoft more efficient. And that's with real-time indexing and this global search approach that we're all pretty accustomed to with the rest of the internet. Well, why users can't use global search inside PeopleSoft? Now they can, of course. So real-time indexing, making sure that what have other people searched for recently and what have I looked at recently, that makes the search experience that much more effective. So in terms of supercharging PeopleSoft, use search first. So you can find the data, find the system pages that you need to do in order to get your job done. So one of the new features in 8.5.9 was that even the tiles, the fluid tiles by name, can be searched. So as you can see here in this screen, batch, and it will automatically show you this. Now, of course, you wouldn't be on the page or you just click the tile. But if you're somewhere else and you choose menu from the dropdown, you can actually search for a tile that you know by name. And so the most important thing to begin with your users is really support them by using the search experience.
Jeff, I'll just to jump in here for a second. You know, we do a lot with usability, and we've done quite a few focus groups and user studies. And one thing you'll find is that the human brain is capable of making decisions when presented choices anywhere from around ideally 3 to 6. Mm-hmm. As soon as you present more than 6 choices to the human brain, it starts to get into fight or flight. And that's what creates the anxiety, the dissatisfaction, et cetera. So you can imagine when you're looking at a big menu, you immediately, that's the reaction you're having. Whereas if I use something like search and I get a much shorter list to browse through, that's why users find it appealing. You just need to build up that trust. A lot of users, their going in position is going to be that search doesn't work if it's not named Google. So if you deploy search, I would highly recommend that you couple that with the change management marketing campaign. You prove to people that it can work. You get the word out. You keep repeating the word over and over again to change that behavior.
Absolutely, and that's actually a great point with what we're starting to see here. In this case, the user is searching job data for a training specialist, and one of the things to highlight here, of course, is the icons on the left, which give the users a visual insight into what to maybe pay attention to. The one on the top there is what a recently visited page. Just because I recently visited doesn't mean that's the one I'm looking at next, but it has my mind kind of sort what I'm looking at. But just like Andrew said, here we have a huge list coming when I say training specialist. So what are we supposed to do there? Well, if you hit the global search button, you can dig into the search results and you can start as a user interacting with the search data. And in that case, if I know the business unit that I'm looking for, I can filter the data. So this querying experience is something we're pretty accustomed to in PeopleSoft, but that even helps your search experience be much more refined. So that kind of user experience, like Andrew says, helping them understand through a change management or some kind of a campaign to help them understand what's new in this new release of PeopleSoft that we've just deployed will help them understand how to be more effective and efficient. So I mentioned about the visual links here, or the icons here. Suggestions from this user's recent access, the blue clock related is you've been here recently. If you want to go back again here and do it again, suggestions from other users, recent access. The way the system knows that other people have been here recently is that thing that we've been talking about real-time indexing. If the data is being kept current, then the search experience can even be improved as well. And then suggestions from the menu is refined search. So that same thing applies throughout the entire search experience. And you're going to be able to see that all over the PeopleSoft system. So search first, one of the great ways to supercharge. The next thing to look at is Kibana and other data analytics. And so Kibana analytics and dashboards related to the Kibana, the business information or business intelligence capability and functionality of Kibana has been released since 8.5.7 for server metrics originally, but in 8.5.8, application data is visible, and you'll see everybody who talks about PeopleSoft is going to be talking about Kibana these days. So having a dashboard like this inside the PeopleSoft experience with direct PeopleSoft related data, and one thing to note is Kibana is not solely PeopleSoft. It is delivered as part of PeopleSoft, and you can implement it with PeopleSoft, but it can incorporate external data when there's data relationships that you want your users to see, and that can be the case. But most things you'll see when we talk about Kibana is PeopleSoft centric data, and so quite a lot of analytics. But again, we talked about the user experience. Why would somebody want to use a dashboard when all they have to do is enter the data and get the thing done? Well, sometimes what we're doing in order to get our work done is related to the data. So seeing what's going on in the system as a manager or as a business expert or something like that, being able to interact with the data so you can see and highlight what's important. So in this case, we're obviously seeing some data related to, in this case, it was COVID analytic or COVID incidents. But looking at the different ways of visualizing allows to see, for example, in that bar chart, you can see that it's increasing. California has very high. So sorting and relating the data for your users to interact with is what Kibana is about. And improving the performance has been what the Oracle team has been making sure that they do. And making it very interactive has been a big highlight of the Kibana experience. So if you haven't implemented Kibana yet, I have to say it's one worth looking at, because incorporating this kind of visualization and actually like you see down here, the interactability so that you can actually access the data directly from this kind of a dashboard, that is where Kibana Analytics can make a huge difference in the productivity and efficiency of some of your users' activity or work-related activity. So Kibana Analytics is something we have to recommend, is something to look at. It does have an impact because users are going to say, where's this data coming from or something? So again, like Andrew was saying, pushing information and guidance to your users through a change management project is very, very effective. So help them know that you're going to roll out Kibana and that this is how it can benefit them. That's a very good step in the right direction. So the next area to focus on in terms of supercharging PeopleSoft is related actions. So related content and simplified analytics, we're going to drill into each of these a little bit, but the associating work task with what you're looking at on the screen is what PeopleSoft was trying to do with this related action functionality. So here we have the first view of related actions is this little drop down, which is highlighted throughout the PeopleSoft system. And you can see here under my team, when you click that, it will show you actions that you can take that are related to the data that I'm looking at. So making it efficient is having somebody be able to take an action without having to navigate and load the data themselves. I'm going to click this and take that action. So more examples of this. You can see that little drop down related action button all over the place. But also in terms of related content, having this related content bar over here on the right-hand side gives us content. Either in this case, we're seeing analytic content, but also you can take actions even in this bar. But this analytic content related to either the single record that I'm looking at, or in this case, it's my team. So with respect to my team, this is analytics that are valuable to me or I can interact with. And the simplified analytics is the functionality that says, and here we're drilling into it so we can actually work with and filter and actually interact with this and then navigate to the data that I want to interact with. But if I want to create analytics for myself, I can come in here and create a brand new bar chart or something like that. And it's a very, very simple process that you can support your users in doing for themselves. Create this kind of analytic content as a pivot grid and save it. And it will now be associated with their experience, or they can publish this analytic content if you allow them in this system to publish this kind of information to other users. You can push it out there as well. And so this simplified analytic functionality associates analytic, which is some data analysis, with PeopleSoft data so that the user experience, and you can see that we have updated this by adding our own analytic content. Your users can be productive, but also give themselves insight into things that are important for them as they're interacting with data. In this case, we're talking about my team, but this can go throughout the entire PeopleSoft system. And adding that chart is very effective. So either display it, you can also organize, and you can also manage by either creating it. That's a cool thing too. Once you have simplified analytics, you can create a tile on your own homepage as well, or on your own dashboard. So my chart is in there now, and it's part of my user experience. So these kind of associating either actions with data or content, other content, or even pivot grids and analytics with data is a key piece of how to supercharge your PeopleSoft system. Anything you want to chime in on there, Andrew? Because
I'll just say we do have a question in chat, so I'd draw
please.
your attention to the chat down here about performance related to analytics, and has it improved?
Yeah, that's a great that is a great question, because of course the data performance is going to have something to do with the data infrastructure that you're using in the PeopleSoft system. The software itself has dramatically improved. When I was working at Oracle and we shift from the old SES to the Elasticsearch, the software needed to be enhanced over the last couple of years. We have seen those kinds of software improvements in terms of the performance. On the exact same system, when I ran PeopleSoft on my laptop, it got better with the newer version of the software. But also looking at the data infrastructure, I've got to say, if you're using or looking at using the cloud, the system or the server level infrastructure has vastly improved over the last few years, and that's most visibly apparent in the cloud environment where the hardware is brand new and most recent. But it does have kind of an impact. One of the questions that used to come up a lot is, should we allow our users to actually even create queries? Because doing those kinds of data queries could be very detrimental to the production server performance. Well, the software has made it easier and less invasive to allow users to do queries and use the analytic functionality. So the answer is yes, the system has improved. And if you have the newest versions of PeopleSoft on relatively new or fairly new server infrastructure, then you're going to see much less detrimental performance with respect to incorporating and adding some of these these kinds of functions to your system.
Yeah, Jeff, another small little tip here that we will utilize on occasion is sometimes you're just dealing with very large tables and complicated joins. There's a feature called materialized views you might want to take a look at, which essentially is a view that the database asynchronously creates a copy of the results. So it flattens the data for you, and it happens all in the Oracle layer.
And that's a perfect example of exactly how the software underneath the system, the database system, has realized, oh shoot, doing these production, these massive queries, why don't we do it in a way that can be more efficient for the system? And that's what a materialized view is that we can create a view of the data that is essentially a pre-run filtering system. And so that's a great point.
There's a couple more questions here. I can help with at least one of these about search. Is the search, does it take security into account? It actually does. What happens is when you run a search to Elastic, or soon to be OpenSearch, if you heard that announcement, next year, what happens is the total results that Elastic will actually call back to a web service in PeopleSoft to say, who is this user, kind of what do they have access to? So it can fire off row level security rules, things like component page access rules, that sort of thing, such that it filters the search results. So it absolutely does do that. If you ever do any custom search index building, you can actually build your own, I believe the name is authorization modules technically, to do the same kind of filtering.
Yeah, and that's an experience that PeopleSoft has encouraged people to be aware of, is that your users are going to see data that they are permitted to see, and that is going to be enforced and has been enforced throughout the entire PeopleSoft experience. So what a user will be able to query is data that they are permitted to see, and that's been consistent and hasn't changed. And so all of this simplified analytics and related content is also going to perform according to those kind of very base rules.